Panic and outrage after another child's body was found inside a pit toilet, this time in the Eastern Cape. Police are now investigating the 4-year-old little girl's death. Now, it obviously brings to mind the story of Michael Komape. Back in 2014, 5-year-old Michael Komape made headlines when he died in the same manner. That was at a Limpopo school. And there have been several other similar deaths around the country since then. Government has been promising to eradicate pit toilets in schools for many years now. Let's bring you a discussion with Sibusiso Khasa, who is a campaigner at Amnesty International South Africa, and he joins us via our video link this morning. Sibusiso, it's just, there's so many words to use, aren't there? It's horrific, the kind of death that would come from someone falling into a pit toilet. How do we respond to this in 2023?
Morning, Michelle, and morning to the viewers. Yes, it is a sad and unacceptable situation. As Amnesty International, we do note that indeed, as you correctly mentioned, that there is an inquest that has been opened by the police to determine as to what happened, what led to the death of the child. But you, as you would know, that children like Michael Komape that you've mentioned died after they drowned in such pit toilets, and children like Siamtanda Mutunu also died after walls of such pit toilets collapsed on them. And you've pointed out that in 2023 we are still talking about this issue, and that's simply because of one thing, which is lack of political will, particularly when it comes to the Department of Basic Education, both national and provincial.
So Sibusiso, we've got the details there of Michael Komape, who was 5 at the time. That was in 2014. When he drowned in a pit toilet in Limpopo, and there are many, many other names that come up as well. What is the legislation around the eradication of pit toilets, Sibusiso?
Well, if you're looking at the regulations that are relating to the minimum norms and standards, which which came into effect in 2013 rather. By 2020, all basic pit toilets or plain pit toilets should have been eradicated, and the Department of Basic Education simply missed that particular deadline. And since then, it has provided another. They did provide another deadline, which was the 2022-2023 financial year, as in the end of that particular financial year, and that was in February, and they missed that particular deadline also. That's why we are saying that there is lack of political will. There's nothing else that you can attribute it to.
So essentially what you're saying is, according to those regulations, pit toilets are actually illegal.
Yes, that's exactly what we are saying, because they should have been eradicated. And now, the worst part is that now, when you look at the Department of Basic Education, what they did last year, they introduced the new proposed amendments to the regulations that are related to the minimum norms and standards. And their intention was to remove these particular deadlines that have been stipulated in those minimum norms and standards. So basically what they are doing is to evade accountability.
Why, Sibusiso? Why, when we clearly do have the resources to get rid of pit toilets?
That's exactly our question as to what are the real issues that the Department of Basic Education is not telling us. Because if you're looking at the fact that if you look at their history, when it comes to spending on infrastructure, they have been found wanting in the sense that they've been underspending in some years. And also in terms of if you look at the fact that last year, the Auditor General found that 1.4 billion was spent on irregular expenditure. That's an indication that there isn't much will to eradicate pit toilets. And we've been calling, along with partners, we've been calling on the Department of Basic Education to eradicate pit toilets immediately. And it's unfortunate that the department has had to even be dragged to court by partners like Equal Education and Section 27, simply because of their failure to eradicate pit toilets. It should be something that they should be doing. It is their job, but they have to be forced by non-governmental organizations.
Yeah. I think disgusting is the word that we're looking for, isn't it? The fact that the department is fighting against a deadline for it to eradicate pit toilets. So, Sibusiso, as we're talking this morning, and perhaps Equal Education and organizations like Ground Up would have this information as well, but how many schools in our country still have pit toilets?
Well, if you look at the stats that are provided by the Department of Basic Education, which also happen to be unreliable, currently we have nearly 3,000 pit toilets across about seven provinces. That the only provinces that do not have pit toilets is the Western Cape and Gauteng.
So 3,000 pit toilets still exist in 7 of our provinces. What is the impact? What is the impact, Sibusiso? If we look at, we know the devastating impact if things go horribly wrong. So many of the children that we had on the screen for our conversation had the walls of pit toilets falling onto them, and that was what caused their deaths. Others were injured severely when they fell into the pit toilet. There's one little boy who survived but fell into a pit latrine. What is the impact of school-going children having to make use of pit latrines while trying to get an education?
Well, the main concern for us is that the presence of pit toilets in our schools, particularly plain basic pit toilets, the main issue is that they violate several human rights, which the government has an obligation to protect, promote, and respect. And those rights are the right to health, the right to basic education, also in terms of the right to dignity, the right to privacy, and the right to safety. And they also threaten the right to life, as we've already alluded to some of the cases whereby children have died in such cases. And you can imagine that you as a parent, if you send your child to school and then the child doesn't return home, how does it even feel for you as a parent, knowing that the reason why you sent your child to school was to get an education and perhaps have a better future? Yeah.
Oratilwe Dilwane is that little boy, a 5-year-old little boy at the time of that incident in 2016 at a school in the Northwest, who fell into a pit toilet but was found alive with severe injuries. So where to from here, Sibusiso? What are the avenues, again, that we need to be using to hold government to account and to ensure that we get rid of the 3,000 pit toilets that are still in 7 of our provinces?
Well, the best that we can do as non-governmental organizations and also yourselves as the media is to put pressure on the basic Department of Education in terms of trying to hold them accountable. We can do that through campaigning and advocacy, but also through litigation. Some of those organizations have already instituted as in terms of litigation against the basic Department of Education. But that's why we are saying that it's really unfortunate that they have to be dragged to court and also be forced to eradicate pit toilets. It is their job. They have an obligation to protect, promote, and respect human rights, and they are not doing so at this stage. Yeah, absolutely. Sibusiso Khasa, let me thank you for your time this morning. He's with Amnesty International South Africa, and according to the minimum norms and standards for 2013, pit toilets were meant to have been eradicated by at least 2020. That is a deadline that the Department of Basic Education itself has fought against. And so to this day, we sit with a situation with 3,000 pit toilets that still exist in 7 of our provinces. And as you can see, it is a devastating risk to our children. It's certainly a story we've got our eyes on for you here on 405.